Hi there. Real quick before we jump into the episode. If you enjoy this episode, or any of the other episodes, be sure to give us a follow or subscribe. It would also be great if you shared it with a friend, or better yet, left a review so others can know how awesome it is. Thanks so much. And now, the episode.
Hey there, press starters, and welcome to the Press Start Leadership Podcast, the podcast about game-changing leadership, teaching you how to get the most out of your product and development team and become the leader you were meant to be. Leadership coaching and training for the international game industry professional. Now, let me introduce you to your host, the man, the myth, the legend, Christopher Mifsud.
Hey there, Press Starters, and welcome back to another awesome edition of the Press Start Leadership Podcast. On this week's episode, we'll be discussing lateral thinking for game development leaders, unlocking creative solutions beyond the obvious, how lateral thinking drives innovation, problem solving, and team collaboration in the video game industry. The video game industry is a rapidly evolving landscape where success hinges not only on technical execution, but also on creativity, agility, and adaptability. As a leader in game development, your ability to think laterally and to solve problems creatively by approaching them from unexpected angles is an essential skill that separates good teams from great ones. In an industry where traditional pipelines and predictable market trends often fall short, lateral thinking empowers leaders to reframe challenges, discover opportunities, and foster innovation. Whether you're working on a AAA blockbuster or managing a lean indie studio, lateral thinking in game development is vital for navigating production bottlenecks, creative blocks, or strategic decision-making under uncertainty. This podcast explores what lateral thinking really means, why it matters in video game leadership, and how you can build this capability in yourself and your team. We'll provide actionable steps, real-world examples, and a framework for incorporating lateral thinking into your leadership toolkit. Understanding lateral thinking in the context of game development. Lateral thinking, a term coined by psychologist Edward de Bono, refers to solving problems through indirect and creative approaches, often bypassing traditional step-by-step logic. Unlike vertical thinking, which relies on sequential reasoning, lateral thinking encourages nonlinear solutions, an invaluable asset in the world of game production, where unique challenges and shifting market forces are constant. Lateral thinking versus logical thinking. While both forms of reasoning are essential, they serve different functions in leadership. Logical thinking helps leaders maintain structure and evaluate risk. In contrast, lateral thinking enables you to question assumptions, explore alternatives, and find game-changing innovations. A balance between the two is often what propels game studios forward. Common scenarios where lateral thinking helps: overcoming creative deadlock during concept development, solving interpersonal conflicts between departments with competing goals, innovating within tight budgets or production constraints, identifying new revenue streams beyond the core game loop, pivoting a game design based on surprising playtest feedback. The importance of lateral thinking for leaders in the video game industry. In a field driven by novelty and engagement, lateral thinking becomes not just a leadership skill, but a business imperative. Staying competitive in a crowded market. With thousands of new games releasing each year, leaders must foster a culture that embraces unconventional ideas. The ability to spot gaps in the market or repackage existing mechanics in unexpected ways is often the difference between a forgettable game and a genre-defining hit. Navigating cross-functional challenges. Game development is inherently multidisciplinary. Artists, programmers, designers, and marketers all operate from different perspectives. Leaders who practice lateral thinking can unify these voices into cohesive, creative strategies by identifying common goals in unexpected places. Adapting to volatile timelines and technologies. Whether it's adapting to new hardware like VR headsets or implementing generative AI tools, change is constant. Lateral thinking allows leaders to remain flexible and innovative, using constraints as catalysts rather than roadblocks. Actionable steps. how to cultivate lateral thinking as a game industry leader. The good news is that lateral thinking can be developed. The follow are structured steps and methods you can apply to build lateral thinking habits within yourself and across your team. First up, practice problem reframing. Rather than tackling a challenge head-on, try rewriting the problem. For example, instead of asking, how can we speed up character animations, ask, how can we change the game's visual language to make less animation feel dynamic? Some actionable steps. Rephrase the problem using how might we questions. Ask, what if the opposite were true to challenge assumptions? Or break the problem into smaller parts and explore alternate causes or perspectives. Next up, conduct lateral brainstorming sessions. Unlike traditional brainstorming, lateral thinking sessions encourage off-the-wall suggestions and cross-discipline insights. Some actionable steps for this. Invite people from non-obvious departments, marketing and a design brainstorm. Set constraints like no digital tools allowed, or every idea must involve a card game mechanic. Use De Bono's 6 thinking hats method to explore a problem from 6 different emotional and cognitive perspectives. Now, encourage reverse engineering. Sometimes the best way to solve a problem is to imagine you already solved it, then reverse engineer the path to success. Some actionable steps for this. Have team members envision the ideal solution, then list the steps that would lead there. Create hypothetical postmortems for future milestones to uncover what could go wrong. And ask, what would we do if the budget or time were no object, and scale down from there. Another thing to try. Create psychological safety for wild ideas. People won't think creatively if they're afraid of being ridiculed or shot down. Leaders must actively foster a culture where lateral ideas are welcome, even if they don't always work. Some actual steps for this. Implement no bad ideas rules during ideation phases. Celebrate past failures that led to better ideas later. Include idea rotation in meetings where someone is tasked with proposing a deliberately weird solution. Finally, use analogies from outside the industry. Looking at how non-gaming industries solve problems can lead to transformative ideas in your studio. Some actionable steps for this. Assign creative field trips where teams study logistics and shipping, storytelling and theater, or UX and consumer electronics. Bring in guest speakers from outside the gaming world. Finally, create a Slack channel or wiki page for ideas from other industries. Building lateral thinking into team culture. It's not enough for individual leaders to think laterally. The goal is to instill it into the studio's operating system. Develop rotational creative roles. Allow team members to rotate into unfamiliar departments for a short period to broaden their perspectives. A UI designer spending 2 weeks with the QA team might discover overlooked pain points that impact player retention. Schedule what-if weeks. Designate 1 week each quarter where teams pursue lateral ideas that may not be tied to production milestones. Set goals like prototyping a mechanic from a different genre or redesigning a menu system using absurd design rules. Institutionalize postmortems that reward boldness. Adjust your studio's project retrospectives to not just capture what went wrong, but to highlight lateral risks that were taken and what they taught you. Overcoming barriers to lateral thinking in game leadership. Despite its clear advantages, lateral thinking often faces resistance at traditional or rigid game development environments. This is especially true in legacy studios or high-pressure pipelines where proven workflows are revered and deviation is met with skepticism. Here are some of the most common barriers and how to overcome them. Fear of failure. Fear of failure is one of the biggest inhibitors of lateral thinking. Game leaders must reframe failures as feedback. Postmortems discuss what was learned from missteps, not just what went wrong. Perfectionism culture. High-fidelity games and polished production can lead to a perfection or nothing mindset. Lateral thinking thrives in the messy middle. Leaders should make room for rough prototypes and exploratory ideas that are good enough to test. Siloed departments. When marketing, design, art, and engineering don't talk, lateral insights fall through the cracks. Cross-functional brainstorming, rotating internal guest reviewers, and shared creative whiteboards can break down barriers. Time and resource pressure. Lateral thinking doesn't require unlimited time. It requires intention. Even 30-minute creative sprints, async idea boards, or themed team challenges can unleash creative cross-pollination without busting schedules. Leadership modeling. If leaders only praise linear thinking, teams will follow suit. Leaders who openly muse, ask what-if questions, and invite dissent signal psychological safety, the bedrock of lateral exploration. Building lateral thinking into your studio's DNA. The most innovative studios embed lateral thinking into their cultural architecture. It's not a bolt-on activity, it's a mindset reinforced by structure. There are ways to formalize lateral thinking as a leadership tool. Create idea safe zones. Designate team meetings or Slack channels where no idea is too out there. Encourage people to submit ideas anonymously if that lowers the fear of judgment. Use prompts to shift thinking. Use tools like Scamper, substitute, combine, adapt, modify, put to another use, eliminate, reverse, or Edward de Bono's 6 thinking hats method to encourage new perspectives. Conduct innovation jams. Once a quarter, hold a studio-wide innovation jam. Pose a problem and give teams a day to tackle it using only non-traditional solutions. Encourage mixing roles. Engineers join design teams. Producers join artists. Celebrate process, not just results. When lateral thinking doesn't produce the winning result, celebrate the effort. Share lessons learned, highlight the value of the inquiry, and invite others to build on the attempt. And hire for cognitive diversity. Include questions during interviews that reveal how candidates approach problems from multiple angles. Value curiosity and creativity as much as technical ability. Measure the impact of lateral thinking in game production. Leaders in game development are often held to hard KPIs, deadlines, milestone delivery, and budget constraints. So how do you justify investing in a more abstract leadership quality like lateral thinking? Well, here's how to measure the impact of lateral thinking on your team's outcomes. Innovation rate. Count how many new features or mechanics originated from team-generated ideas outside of the original scope. Bug reduction through idea sharing. Track how early brainstorming or peer problem solving help prevent production issues. Cross-department engagement. Measure participation in idea jams or inter-team challenges. Employee engagement scores. Ask in surveys if employees feel encouraged to share ideas or challenge assumptions. Prototype velocity. Measure how quickly new ideas are tested and iterated, even if they are not ultimately shipped. Creative confidence index. Informally track how often team members proactively offer ideas in meetings or documentation. Remember, the goal isn't to lateral think your way out of production realities. It's to give your team a second or third dimension of insight and creativity. Some actionable steps. Cultivating lateral thinking in yourself and your team. For individual leaders, set weekly idea time. Block 30 minutes a week to reflect on one current challenge from 3 different angles. Use reverse brainstorming or think, what would a competitor do? Question your own assumptions. Take a decision you made this week and play devil's advocate. Could another approach have worked better? Read outside your discipline. Subscribe to architecture blogs, read about manufacturing innovations, or follow UX from finance apps. Inspiration often lives in unexpected places. Ask what if during meetings. Instead of giving feedback, pose questions that stretch the team's thinking. What would this look like if we had no budget? What if this was a board game? Track your mental ruts. Reflect on whether you're defaulting to the same tools, people, or processes repeatedly. Where could you change your inputs? For studio teams, introduce lateral lightning rounds. At the start of team meetings, present a strange creative question unrelated to current projects. Reward cleverness, not accuracy. Conduct postmortem reimagine sessions. After a milestone, ask, if we had to do this all over, but we couldn't use the same approach, what would we do differently? Pair diverse roles on challenges. Put a UI artist and a back-end engineer on a small feature prototype. Diversity of background leads to diversity of thought. Run retros with a twist. Instead of what worked/didn't, try, if we had to solve this problem like a puzzle, stand-up comedy bit, what would it look like? Document and share wild ideas. Even if unused, collect and archive lateral solutions on Confluence, Notion, or Miro. They may inspire future features or serve as an excellent onboarding material. Lateral thinking in the future of game leadership. As game development evolves, leadership styles must evolve with it. Today's leaders aren't just gatekeepers of delivery. They're catalysts of creativity and innovation. The leaders who succeed in the next 5 to 10 years will be those who can think laterally, encourage others to do the same, and build a studio culture where curiosity is just as valuable as code. Whether you lead a 4-person indie team or a 200-person AAA department, lateral thinking isn't a luxury, it's your competitive edge. So let's recap. Lateral thinking for game development leaders means approaching problems from non-obvious angles. It leads to more robust features, stronger collaboration, and resilient teams. It requires psychological safety and time to think and permission to be wrong. And it starts with you, asking better questions, modeling curiosity, and inviting your team to do the same. Now is the time to level up, not just how you produce games, but how you think about producing them. All right, and that's this week's episode of the Press Start Leadership Podcast. Thanks for listening, and as always, thanks for being awesome. Oh, hi. And the episode's over, but thanks for sticking around till the end. Be sure to check out more episodes in the playlist and new episodes every week on Monday. Follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Don't forget to leave a review. Thanks again for being awesome.